Gonna be talking about something different today, sports. Indeed. I heard something on the radio today and then heard something else on the weekend, and it's just spurred me on. I am indeed a Spurs fan to say something here, because it blows my mind what's going on with the value of players in football, and also how very average players can be valued at such high amounts. I understand if you're the best in the world that you should be valued at being the best in the world, but if you're just fine or good, I don't think you should be valued at, 8 figures, 9 figures. I don't get it. I really don't. So today we're going to be talking about Wilfried Zaha. Now, let's not get this twisted. I think Zaha is a very talented footballer. Do I think he is one of the best footballers in the Premier League? No. Not by a long shot. He's probably not even in the top 30 attacking players in the Premier League. Maybe 30 overall players in the Premier League. If you go outside the top 6, he's probably in the best 10 players outside of the top 6. Maybe in the best 5 players outside of the top 6. But that still means that all those other clubs have multiple players who are significantly, maybe slightly, if not significantly better than he is as a forward attacking player. Now, this all stemmed because Graham Souness on the weekend, and while I respect your opinion, you know more about football than I probably ever will. You played the game your whole life and then became a pundit. He said that Wilfried Zaha is an elite level player who really is on the radar for people like Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, that level of club, that upper echelon. Now, I don't know where you think or why you think that, because if you just look at Wilfried Zaha in the Premier League, he wouldn't get into most of the top 6 teams. He wouldn't get into City's team. Would he get into City's team? Who's he going to replace in that front 3 or front 4 or front 5 or front 6? Because City have an abundance of attacking talent. He wouldn't get into Liverpool's front 3 with bloody Mane, Salah, Firmino. I mean, Shaqiri on his day is unplayable. Like, they have an abundance of talent there, a plethora of attacking class. And you look at Spurs, he wouldn't get into the Spurs team either. He wouldn't replace Son, he wouldn't replace Moura, he wouldn't replace Eriksen, Kane. None of them. Lo Celso now we have as well. I mean, he would replace Lamela, I'll be honest. He would get in ahead of Lamela. But that's like 5th wrong. He wouldn't get into Spurs starting 11. Arsenal, I don't think he'd get in with Pepe and now Aubameyang and Lacazette. I don't think there's any chance he'd get into Arsenal starting 11. Maybe United, but then United have Rashford, they have Lingard, Martial. They do have strength there. It's just that sometimes they don't play very well. The only team in the top 6 I think he would definitely get a starting place in is Chelsea. That's the only one, and they can't buy him because they have a bloody transfer ban. So he wouldn't get into 5 of the top 6 teams in the Premier League. Why on earth would he be getting into Real Madrid or Barcelona or Bayern Munich? Like, it is very, very unlikely he would get into those teams or even those benches. I mean, it's unrealistic. Don't put this out there. There's this thing. I know he now plays for the Ivory Coast as his national team, but he was born in the UK, I think, or at least he played under 21 level in the UK. We have this knack of bigging people up too much, and I think that Zaha has been bigged up so much over the past 4 or 5 years, being like he's got so much potential, he's got so much talent, and he does, but like he's not as good as Son or Moura just in the Spurs team. Like, he does have traits of those two players, and he has one trait which those two have actually decided to get rid of in their game considerably. He is a flair player. He is a game changer in the team he's in, which is Crystal Palace. He does a great job at Selhurst Park, all right? And if he stays there, he will go down as a club legend, which is why I think he should probably stay there. While he might be able to go up a level and maybe get into like a top 6 team potentially, if he stays at Crystal Palace, he will go down in history there. So I don't know. It's a tough decision, obviously. I mean, he's on good money. It's obviously not about the money. But a valuation of 80 million on Wilfried Zaha is just beyond me. I mean, I'm glad Spurs didn't buy him for that money. For 30 million, maybe take a punt on him. He's going to be a squad player in the team Spurs have, so I guess that's as good as you can get now for a decent player in the Premier League. So He's proved in the Premier League as being fine, as being good, as being solid. But he's a flair player, and I think that there's a uniqueness to that which have benefits and drawbacks, all right? He will change a game for you. At the same time, he can be very selfish on the ball. It's a trait that Son had, and it only got pulled out of him, I would say, in the last 24 months. It's a trait that Lucas had when he came in the first 6 months. And then he really, really did change that last year. And I think Pochettino pushed him to do that. Lamela came with that, and he still has that selfish tendency to the way he plays. He doesn't always want to give the ball away, even when there's someone in a better position than him. And I feel Zaha has that, and that's fine because that can be played out of you and got out of you with the right coach. And maybe Pochettino is that guy to help Zaha get that specific trait out of him. But I just don't feel he is the quality that people are saying he is. I don't see it. Maybe I'm blinded by the money valuation of almost 9 figures here. But I can't see him being able to play at that elite level. I mean, you look at Bale when he left the Premier League and went to Real Madrid. He was in the top 5 players in the Premier League easily at that point. I think he just had a season where he scored 20 plus goals and match-winning, game-changing goals. And I understand why he left. And I understand that he actually made an impact at Real Madrid. And he, regardless of where he is right now inside that club and the way they feel about him, he has left an impact on that club for generations to come. With Ronaldo, with Modric, with that team and that squad, because they won the bloody Champions League more times than most teams have ever... I mean, yeah, it's ridiculous the amount of times they won the Champions League. It's absolutely beyond me. He left a mark. You look at Coutinho, he was in the top 10 players in the Premier League when he left Liverpool, and he was the best player at Liverpool at that moment before Salah. That was really before Salah had his huge thing for that season, because it was about halfway through the season in the January transfer window. He was the best player at Liverpool, one of the 10 best players in the Premier League, and he couldn't even make a scratch, really, on Barcelona's team. Zaha isn't in the best 10 players in the Premier League. He's, as I said, he's not even in the best 30 players, or maybe even 40 players in the Premier League. Honestly, Trippier has now gone to Atletico Madrid. I think he can actually be really, really successful there. The way La Liga plays, the way the matches are tactically put forward, I think he can really make a very, very strong role for himself in that Atletico Madrid team for the next 2, 3, 4 years potentially, which is great. I do think Spurs should have really held on to him. Even though he had a bit of a shaky season, he's the best out of all the right-back options we had, but he wanted to go, and I send him with all my best wishes. You know, I mean, I'll have memories for Trippier for the rest of my life. The World Cup goal, I mean, you know, the free kick, it will stick with you forever. If we'd won, it would have been even better, but it's what it is. I think that the British media has this great knack of hyping and becoming the best hype man in the world for someone, and maybe getting too big for the boots. I don't think Zaha is too big for his boots. I think he wants to play with the best in the world, and he wants to play at a level which he can compete at. And that is, you know, the Champions League that he thinks, or the Europa League. Like, Europe at least is his, like, barometer, I think. And while I think he can play at that level, I don't think he can play in the clubs in the UK at that level. I don't see how it's possible. Christian Eriksen, Lucas Moura, Son, just in the Spurs team, KANE, all round about his age. They're round about his position on the pitch as well, and they're just way more clinical. They are high pressure players. They will do it in the highest of pressure, under the highest of circumstances. When they get put in the crucible, they will do the job. It's got proven last season with Son multiple times, with Moura in a Champions League semi-final scoring a hat-trick. Eriksen on numerous occasions, you know, coming off the bench when he's been injured and still doing the job, scoring vital goals. KANE, even though he was out for most last season, still got, I think, 20 goals, over 20 goals in all competitions. I don't think Zaha can do that. I think he has moments of absolute genius and brilliance, and he is at times incredible to watch, but I don't think he has the consistency that a top 6 team will want. And I think that while people will say he won't have to track back so much in a team in the top 6, you know, he won't have as many defensive duties. The way the top 6 play, especially the top 3 or 4, they play that your attacker is your first defender. And I think to say that he won't be defending as much in a top 6 side is ridiculous, because they play a high press a lot of the time. They will burn someone. They will burn someone down just to try and get the ball. Like, they will have 3 people on him, circle him and cook him in an oven just to try and take the ball off of him. And that's the high press I'm talking about, which sometimes these lower league clubs don't have, but they do a lot of tracking back. I think he still would have a lot of defensive duties anyway. I mean, you see how much these players who literally are wingers and strikers, they get back to the first third, to their third of the pitch, you know, to take on defensive duties when it's needed. So I don't think Zaha is as good a player as people think. I think he's a good player. I think he's an exciting player. But like I said, he wouldn't get into any of the top 6 teams other than Chelsea right now. That's my honest opinion. He wouldn't get into any of them. Maybe I'm wrong, and if there's someone down there who can tell me. I mean, I don't really make sports content very often, or football related content, so this is going to be different seeing how people react to it. But I think that he has a chance to become a legend at a football club at Selhurst Park. While maybe it's not what he wants, and he wants to challenge himself, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, if he's willing to take the risk to go to one of these big clubs, I mean, you know, power to him. He's gambling with himself here, and he's backing himself, which is good. You know, you need that little bit of not arrogance, but confidence. You need that. But I just think maybe, you know, Souness and other people saying that he's a Real Madrid caliber or Barcelona caliber player, I don't think he's shown that as of yet. I think that Aubameyang is that. I'm a Spurs fan, but I'll acknowledge Aubameyang is that. I think he has those qualities, and I think he's played at the highest level in Europe for, you know, years and years and years. You look at half the Man City squad, they are that. You look at the Liverpool squad, you know, half a dozen players, they are that. The Spurs squad, half a dozen players, they are that. I don't think he is. This has gone on long enough. I think I've put my point across there. Zaha's a good player, he's just not a great one. That's how it can be whittled down, I guess, into one sentence. But anyway, guys, if you did enjoy this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel down there. If you didn't, then I don't know. I don't know what will happen. Something will, though. You don't want that, you already know, so just subscribe anyway to avoid that. I've been NarendraTheComic. You have been great. I'll see you next time. Skadoosh.